All right, y'all. So, 10 years as a personal trainer, I'm going to go through exactly why most people don't lose their gut. All right. Now, I know I sound like a broken fucking record, but as I talk about this stuff day in and day out, more people are getting fat because the obesity number is going up, not down. Remember that. It's going up, not down. And I know someone out there needs to hear this shit. That's why I be speaking this shit because I see a lot of people on that hit me up on TikTok, hit me up on Instagram. They're like, bro, thank you, man. Your video, man. I know it's repetitive, but that shit helped me lose fat because they locked in on nutrition. That's the first thing. The reason most people will not lose their gut is just because of their nutrition. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I've been impressed about what people can do in the gym, right? As far as like core work and shit like that, because their stomach is big as shit. I'll be like, bro, your core is almost as strong as mine. That's pretty good, man. Wow, you can do this for this, you can do that for that. Because guess what? They always work their stomach because their core because they want to lose their stomach, but they never eat right to actually lose that stomach. You cannot out train a bad diet. You've heard it so many times. Yet after you leave the gym, you continue on your bad diet. After you leave the gym, you go straight to Papa John's. After you leave the gym, you go straight to Domino's. Around most gyms, for some reason, around a lot of gyms, there's like a lot of fast food places, and most of the people there usually come from the gym. Like anytime I've walked out with someone, at the gym, I'll be like, yeah, yeah, have a good day. And I see them get in their car, and I get in my car. I'm going behind them. We go separate ways, and I see them park, and then they like go into like a Domino's or a Little Caesars or some shit. And I'm like, what in the gooftivity are you doing, bro? Like, what in the goofy shit are you actually doing? Like, if you work your ass off in the gym, you're not earning your calories. That's not how it fucking works. You don't unless you do CrossFit or some shit like that. But CrossFit people want to maximize performance, so they eat relatively healthy. Like, unless you're doing 25K steps a day, right, and you're lifting super heavy, which if you did all that, you'd spend so much time away from food that you could pretty much eat whatever you want to. You know what I mean? But most people aren't doing that shit. Most people are getting 2K steps a day, right? Most people are not lifting consistently. And if they are, they're eating like shit. But most people aren't lifting that much, and not consistently, and then they're eating like shit and wondering why they're gaining fat. That is the fastest way to gain fat is through nutrition. All right. Very, very simple. So yeah, you can do all the running and walking. I actually had someone that was, I actually had a dumbass on TikTok that said like, well, like you don't understand like why I wasn't losing fat. Like me and my doctor were like checking my blood work. Like we were because I was running 2 to 3 times a week. I'm like, bro, you can run marathons and shit and still be out of shape. Like physically, like you can run marathons and eat a bunch of food and you're gonna remain the same size. You still have to be in a calorie deficit. Like, why don't people understand that just because you worked hard doesn't mean you don't have to eat healthy? Like, what the fuck, bro? If you're not in a deficit, you're not losing fat. Create a deficit, easiest through nutrition, right? It's gonna be harder through working out. Yeah, you ran a marathon, but you ate 4,000 calories, and it's pretty much all carbs and fats. It's crazy to me. It's crazy, 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 crazy. All right. And another thing is, like I said, it doesn't matter about like how much activity you have. You're overestimating your activity, like the calorie burn and shit like that you guys see on these machines and stuff like that. It's inaccurate. All right, it's inaccurate. You're not burning after doing 30 minutes of like Stairmaster. If the shit says 400 to 500 calories, you're not burning 400 to 500. And even if you are, that's not gonna justify you eating 400 to 500 extra calories. And you probably won't. You're probably gonna eat even more than that. But a lot of people like I always tell you guys this story because it intrigues me. This story will always intrigue me about the mystery man, right? The guy who always spent 1 hour to 1 hour and 30 minutes on the stepper, and there was always a bunch of sweat on the stair stepper. That's why I never used that fucking stair stepper. But there was always a lot of sweat on the stair stepper. He was pretty consistent. He would go there like 5 6 days a week, and after a couple of years of seeing him there, I remember I left, then came back to that gym, seeing him there again. I'm like, dude, he got fatter. How the fuck did he get fatter? And he's doing an hour and a half on the stairmaster because he's eating like shit and then punishing himself. The more you look at fitness as okay, I'm gonna eat whatever I want to, but now I have to punish myself. That means you have the wrong mindset, anyways. That's how out of shape people look at food and working out. Working out is to build muscle, relieve stress, make sure you have good joint health, right? It's good for your tendons, right? It's good for all that shit, right? And then eating is to fuel your body to reduce risk of a lot of diseases and prevent risks of type 2 diabetes, all that other shit. All right, that's what food is for. Food is fuel. It's not some shit you do when you're bored. A lot of you guys eat food because you're bored. You're scrolling on TikTok. You're like, oh, let me eat some candy and cookies. Goofy shit. You know what I mean? That's just dumb as hell. A lot of people do this shit. And then another thing is, quote unquote laziness, right? Which is really just lack of direction, which is lack of discipline. All right. Like motivation does not fucking matter, guys. For the last time, I tell you guys this shit all the time. Be like, people are like, yeah, man. Like someone messaged me in my store. Like I posted a story and I was post workout selfie, and they're like, if I had as much motivation as you, man, I'm like, bro, what the fuck does motivation have to do with you overeating every day? All right. It's literally habits and discipline. That's all it is. It's not that deep. Why do people overcomplicate this shit? And then people get mad at me saying the most basic shit like, if you ate less and you move more, you would be leaner. And they're like, hey, you don't understand. But and then they eat more and move less and then they get fatter. It's like, bro, who's gonna tell you? All right, where's your self awareness? Do you not have self awareness? Simple. And one more thing you want to do is when you set your schedule, when you set like a workout schedule, like you're gonna work out these days, stick to that shit. I've seen people buy like a bunch of different workout plans and do absolutely none of them. Why? Because they don't have discipline. They're just buying different shit and they'll be like, wait, which one has a secret? They're trying to see which one is the easiest one. But at the end of the day, they're all going to be difficult because you're going to be sore when you're working out because you haven't worked out consistently before, right? You're going to have hunger pains when you're eating in a deficit. You're not going to get to your goals without hunger pangs and without some kind of soreness. All right. The reason people say blood, sweat, and tears is because you're going to struggle getting to your goals. That's why it's worth it. That's why it's rare. That's why a lot of people don't have it. All right. Like I said, this video is about why most people like do not lose their stomachs. They just don't. Now, we all know that losing your gut, losing your belly fat is just one area that you store fat. Obviously, you store lower back, your tits, your thighs, and everything. But in order to get to the point where you lose the last bit of belly fat, you have to be so consistent in your routine to get to that point. And the reason people don't lose their love handles and they don't lose that belly fat is because they lack consistency because what they're doing is not sustainable in the first place. They're not pacing themselves. They're doing dumb shit. They're doing let me do a 24-hour fast every other day. Yeah, go ahead. That'll last you a week. And then you get so fucking hungry, you binge, you know, on day 7 you eat like 7,000 calories, which puts you in a surplus overall for the week or some shit like that. Like people do that all the time. You have to look at the long term. All right. Another thing is people don't understand body fat percentages. If you want to see your abs, if you want to lose your belly fat, majority of it, you're going to have to get below 15% if you have high muscle mass, maybe even 10% if you have low muscle mass. All right. So that just means, you know, that's going to take time and hunger pangs and struggle. However, it also depends on where you're starting as far as your body fat. People don't know where they're starting. So how the fuck could you know how long it's going to take you to get to where you need to get to, but also where to go? Like if you're in San Francisco, you're not going to walk to Atlanta in 2 hours. All right. Simple. You're going to have to fly there. So first thing I recommend for people, if they're trying to lose their stomach fat, is obviously clean up your nutrition. You'll see it go away. But number 2, also check your body fat percentage to see how much fat you have to lose. Because if you're 40% body fat and you're starting the journey with your friend who is 15% body fat, the first 3 months, he might get down to 10 to 12% and be like, oh my God, this worked wonders. And you're like, oh my God, that's not fair. How did that happen? And you're going to be down to, 30%, but you're not going to see the results he sees. So you're going to get discouraged when in reality, you're making very, very fucking good progress. All right. So you need to know where you're starting so you don't have unrealistic expectations. A lot of people set these unrealistic expectations. They want to look like C-Bum after looking at a dumbbell. And they're like, dude, I don't look like C-Bum. I went to the gym, I swear. And they just quit. They ate healthy for one day and they're like, why am I not getting results? I ate healthy for one day. Here's the funniest one. People eat healthy for a month. They stay on their deficit for a month. They're like, I'm seeing results, but I'm not seeing enough. It's like, bro, you're doing the bare minimum. What the fuck? You're supposed to eat healthy all the time. That's why it's called healthy. It's not called unhealthy. It's called healthy because it's good for your body. You're supposed to eat healthy all the fucking time. 90% of the time at least. That's just normal shit. But in today's society, we've normalized eating like shit. And when you eat healthy, people say, oh, you're on a diet. Goofy shit like that. So it's very ridiculous to me when I see dumb shit like that. You know what I mean? Like people are like, I eat healthy, bro. Like I swear I didn't have a cheat meal for like a month. I'm like, okay, so you did the bare minimum for a month and you want 10 years worth of results. Are you on any psych medication? Because you're fucking delusional. All right. That's how simple it is. If you did the bare minimum is hitting the gym 110%, right? Getting your sleep 6 to 8 hours. You know what I mean? And then making sure that you're hitting high protein and actually in a calorie deficit, tracking all your food, not missing meals. That's the bare minimum. You do that for a month, yes, you're going to see results. You're going to feel more locked in. You're going to feel better. But that's just a bit. That's not impressive. That's not like so many people think that like they're like they deserve something or so impressive they deserve a prize. I'm like, dude, you ate in a deficit and you're fat as shit. You should have. You're doing that to save your life, but to also become more aesthetic. That's just expected. And you have so much fat to eat off of that it's like you'll be fine if you even get aggressive in your deficit. But people want a reward. The first time they're in a deficit, they were on a reward. You're not getting a reward for doing the easiest shit of all time, just eating less food. When you're eating 4,000, that's not impressive, bro. You're controlling what you eat. Oh wow, it's the first time doing that. I deserve. You don't deserve a reward. All right, stop looking for rewards for small fucking inputs. Make these basic ass inputs, and you want results immediately. All right. In reality, how you're gonna get your long term results is by making small changes and letting them compound over time. The compound effect is powerful, but not if you're not consistent. So be consistent, eat high protein, be patient and realistic, and stop eating like shit, bro.